Okay, thanks everybody for coming. I'd like to introduce the first reader for the evening. We have Stephanie Adams-Santos. Steph is a Guatemalan-American poet and writer whose work spans poetry, prose, and screenwriting, with a penchant for the queer and uncanny. Stephanie's full-length poetry collection, Swarm Queen's Crown, was a finalist for the Lambda Literary Award. She's a writer for two-sentence horror stories on Netflix, an anthology series featuring short takes of horror and haunting. Please welcome Stephanie.
Thank you. This is such a beautiful little gathering, and it's really an honor to read for dear friends and folks I've never met before, and I hope we can all get to know each other. I'm just going to read a few things from a collection that I'm working on. It's a lot. Come in. It's a single poem that is book length, and it's still finding its form. But I thought, in honor of Jenny's move and Jake's embarking on new things, it'd be nice to read some new works that are still finding themselves. Outside, the water sings its tortuous note, devoid of the parrot, devoid of the quetzal, a song without ears, a dry silk wrapped around the throat, neither warm nor cold, but a vacillation between the two. A hammer swings through the ether of the flesh, the mind's red line. Tonight, a part of you shivers, liking it, your whole body in one place where steel drags along. You wonder if now the body wants more to open or to shut. Unable to sleep, you stare adrift from your house of nerves, afloat in the substrate where memory's creatures pulse with open mouths. A recollection comes, the way it moves without pattern, a thrice spent line, a headache hanging in air, the geometric witch from your childhood, many years hovering between life and death, between your eyes and the ceiling, the acute scent of sharp, uncertain angles, scent of noseblood, of shibalba. You are the gossamer prismer spun into shape. At the first altar of blood, there was hardly a sound, but a trembling, something in the earth, a murmuring of teeth and mycelia. I, sounds moving like slugs in the grass of the body, leaving their traces of memory, the slow sound of the earth digesting. This is what you must listen for, the sounds that spill from the hands and burrow deep into earth, thickening in syrups, growing old and silent. Fossils do not only live in stone, objects shed their illusions. The bottle of rum, the bottle of whiskey, both are folded into blood. A note in your grandmother's hand is passed into yours, blank, deep red. It's as though you are walking alone in a garden. Out of the sky, the star cuts you. You hear the crush of flowers, a sharp cry, the obsecration of a stem. The blood in your body has lost and turned to water. You pertain to your sorrow. You are invented by its blows. Far away, a single rose swells on the vine, the old thing humming like it was just freshly born. Blue shadows, absolute. Can't a shape look like a cry? Can't joy erupt from a thorn? Kukulkan sleeps, steeped in earth, a black root thickening with spice. Why should you lie? It's not God you're thinking of. You lean to touch your wife who isn't there. Your tongue becomes foam, and morning makes a paste of your eyes on the stone. Tendrils propagate from your bones, searching for something to cling to. If you could only pray the right way, you might reach the secret sleep of the Creator where the roses engulf you. If you had the right words, you could taste the whole earth with your empty tongue. Flowers at your feet like pools of night. You reach into the folds, as into the shadows of your reflection, where the mountain stirs. Sierra de los Cuchumatanes, susurra allí donde andan los cazadores de los loros. Here again is a mythos of blood, thoughts filling and emptying as water from a vase, green water, black water, flickering, blank. Water without reflection, water that smells of death. Warm as the tears that draw trails of light from a spectral breast, remembering, forgetting, you flare into being. At night, a woman crosses the courtyard with her hair down like a pelt. She smells of the river and jade that throbs underground, green brewed in a womb of stone, a lonely violet perfume, a bone smell. The soft shuffling of her backward feet is the music of a past life, a nostalgia for living, a lullaby that rides sharp and high through the nose, piercing the brain. Surely the gossip of hens is a language of death. Xibalba chirps near a hole in the ground, and there, if you listen, is the sound of all animals, arcane beneath the aria of silence. Go to the window and see what time it is. The black grass has eaten the heads of the flowers. The amethyst of the sky is dim, full of ash without origin. Just before dawn, your eyes emerge. A bird there nips at its own shadow, vision doubled and burnt. You loiter by the cabinet of the quetzal. Inside, the one candle burns to a nub. Then, mute in its dish, the tallow bears a smear of your face. There is nothing here that will tell you who you are. Here is the entrance to the underworld, marked by an abundance of water that asserts itself in blood. You try to crawl inside, but you find yourself thick with supplication, too wet with the rains of your past. Oh, you are drunk. You stumble past, stuck in the world. When the locust comes to the window, you must let your blood move to each side, making a path. It's okay if you have nothing to sing. Sensation walks through you. It's okay to just lie still and let the blooming happen all around you. Perhaps you will be good again in the spring when the flimsy grass pierces the earth. That is my piece for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steph. That was beautiful. Hi. Hi. Yay. Hi. Please come in. Hi. You like. Oh, yeah. For the folks who just came in, we did a safety check earlier, and to make sure that folks are okay with the option of all wearing a mask, a mixed crowd, or everybody not wearing a mask. And seems like, there's a few mostly wearing masks and some not wearing masks. So up to you guys. Okay, so I'm really excited to share all these readers' work because I learned so much from them. But and they're all really important to me as as a reader and as a writer. And so the next person, without her, it would have been really hard to have a Whitenoise from the beginning, because I was trying to find a venue, and just really, I'd never done anything like this before. But my friend Jenny Chu said, I have a connection to an art gallery, and I can open it up for you. And didn't ask for anything, just wanted to be in community and build stuff and hold space with us. So I'm really grateful for that. And thanks, Jenny. Jenny M. Chu is a thinking artist. She was raised in Oregon by parents who immigrated from Saigon and Hong Kong. She's an older sister to a younger brother. She aims to live a life where 80% of it is spent in nonlinear time. She often seeks the possibility of a horizon on a clockless day. Please welcome Jenny.
Hello, hello. Oh, I love this. I love this so much, that this is an intersection of so many parts of my life in Portland. And as Stephanie said earlier, I am moving to Denver in August. So it's just really good to see everybody. It's so good to see everybody. Are there any mystics in the house? I know that there are some. Anyways, okay. This is actually in honor of Neptune. And if you know anything about Neptune, it is a very dreamy planet. And for those of you that don't know about Neptune, you'll just experience it. So in moving and packing, I unearthed a dream journal. So I'm going to read some dreams that are very lightly edited for clarity. And then I'm going to read, so these are night dreams, and then I'm going to read some daydreams that I wrote in a Write Around Portland workshop a little bit later. So I'm going to start with the night. September 14, 2011. My brother, with either a mom or grandma, some woman figure, may or may not be related to me in a real way. We're out in a corridor surrounded by sliding glass doors, like a modern house, but their clothes were robed. They're in the garden area, though most of it is just stone. Then a large coyote, the size of a man, comes bounding. Everyone freezes, then the brother moves and the coyote stops and throws his axe at his feet. Then brother takes a bong rip and blows in the coyote man's face. The sky rumbles and grandma indicates that they must go now, inside. They run inside, and it's all glass windows, and where they were standing around, an individual cloud formed above them, maybe 5 feet above their heads, and all of a sudden the clouds darkened and down fell waterfalls of rain. Something happens. The boy drinks out of a basin, a well, or a tub during this storm, and it's not good. And he says something like, I felt 70 different sorrows, in describing his stomach ache from drinking the water during the storm when he shouldn't have. September 29, 2011. Something about rectangles, how we are columns. October 26, 2011. We're walking to somewhere. A boy, I assume Haven, is rollerblading up the hill. That's all I remember. Oh, next to a chain-linked fence. Are we going to a playground? November 18th, 2011. There was this girl, brown curly hair, and she's going to this concert with this guy. They're not anyone I know in real life. They looked like Disney actors. So they go to this concert, and a band, semi-youngish, like teens, plays a notable song, and everyone's feeling it, including a guy with blonde hair and a striped light blue and white polo shirt. Then they play something harder, like heavy metal, and everyone zones out, frozen, except the girl. She runs away. The reason she's running is because she knows how to think critically, and her vast vocabulary somehow keeps her immune from the trance. She had to run or else she'd be caught. She runs into this store, like a clothing or fake oriental rug store run by this Asian guy, and then she suddenly becomes me. And even though this clothing, fabric, oriental rug store is sparse, I'm hiding okay because the Asian guy stands by the door and can act like he's one of the lower vocab people, convincing the trackers or guards away. His shop is like an underground railroad for people that have learned to speak and think for themselves. Then I'm in a grocery store, and these people, maybe related to me, are chasing me, and I'm sort of far from them. Then there's a scene. I run up the flight of stairs and end up in a single room like a bell tower without a bell. And I have to climb out one window into the other, and that's how I think I ended up in the store. People are trying to catch me, to take me in. November 21, 2011. Something about water being scarce and me being dressed up in suspenders and my lipstick smeared rounding out the corners making me look like a clown. Something I was wearing on my chin frayed like the edges of cut denim. It was orange, giving me a fake orange costume beard look. I forgot where I was. A warehouse, a store with aisles. December 20, 2011. I've been having dreams every night, it seems, but have been too lazy to get up to write things down. I can't seem to get this image out of my head, though. We are planting tulips or violets, and she shows me how to make a divot in the soil with my finger. She shows me the violet seeds, and they are slimy, blueberry, liver-spotted-looking slugs. And she shows me how to plant them, and they're wriggling. I can't stomach it. And then she shows me how you're supposed to take a handful of dirt and these violet seeds and squeeze them in your fist. July 25th, 2012. There was this pond with gigantic koi fish, like you see at the California Academy of Sciences. Large, gleaming, pewter-colored carp with their backs out of the water. A glorified Japanese-type garden, the edge raised concrete, like my grandmother's pond. I was with someone, maybe a friend, someone I didn't necessarily feel a deep kinship to, but simply the sensation of company, the lack of loneliness. As we're walking by a gigantic carp, one that's the color of dark cold gray, with iridescent opalescent scales towards the back end of his body, he jumped out of the water to land in a sort of rock, holding shape like this. He was huge, half the length of my body. We decided to put him back in the water, but he did it again, and we left him. The feeling of the carp was recognition from the animal kingdom. He was a carp, so his eyes had no sort of emotion except the glassiness of what real fish's eyes look like. But his gesture out of the water, his gills flapping, proved his presence, startling me and this faceless person. The second part of the dream. I'm in a lab at a marine park or zoo, and there's this mad scientist type off to the left, standing behind a podium or a control board of some sort. He's wearing the typical white lab coat of a mad scientist. Off to the right, there's a group of sea lions. Their coats are somewhat dry, so they look more taupish brown than a sleek, wet, dark brown. The one in the middle has electrodes or something controlling its brain. In a small cup or a bowl of water, there's a gray, toy-like sea lion that the scientist flips over in the water head to tail, and the real sea lion does the same thing. Then, as if the sea lion in the middle has told the rest of them he needs help, the others huddle around him or her to protect it, and they're silent as much as sea lions can be when they're calm. And the middle sea lion resists what the scientist is trying to do, and it seizures dead in the middle of the pack. And then the entire group erupts crying and barking. I'm there, and I realize the immense cruelty of how humans are. I wake up with that tightness in my chest as if trying to suppress the urge to cry. All right, now we're back to 2019. This is how consistent I am. June 21st, 2019. It started out with noticing a worm-like thing come out of what looked like the head of a sprout. And then the sprout and the worm-like thing both started moving. At first, I thought they were one and the same, until the worm-like parasite left this sprout and went to another and animated that sprout. The dream kept going, and it was quite involved, but it helped us to figure out how to separate ourselves from the parasite. All right, end night scene. All right. day. Welcome day dreams. Through the door, I wanted balloons, but what I got was a single chair. This might be a metaphor. A mystic with a high ponytail. Higher the pony, closer to the stars, she said. She told me that my mind makes my reality. Does wanting balloons count for anything? What does the chair look like? My Jungian therapist asked. Steel. That doesn't sound too comfortable and cold, too. Yeah, but at least I can sit. I drown myself out with my pragmatism. I can feel my therapist mming at me from their insides. Slow, moving through maple syrup. So slow that dust collects on my shoulders. So slow, the birds thought I was a tree. So slow, I felt cold even in the 80-degree weather. Today I started moving again, although so much of my moving was done in a chair. The helicopters are circling outside. My cup of tea is lukewarm, and that's how I don't like it. I want to surprise my own brain, disrupt my thought patterns, shock myself into joy. Instructions for joy. Sleep on a bed of tofu. Wear sequins and eat fake ham sandwiches. Put cilantro behind your ears. Throw the list away. Find the cross sections at the nearest rose bush. Read the surface of a ginkgo leaf. Cook perfect rice by the line of your forefinger. Map the shadows cast at 3:54 p.m. Forgo the destination for the journey. Follow a bee around all day. Talk to the forest floor. Build a corn chip fort. Come home to kanji. All right, this is the last daydream. On a distant shore, there is you glittering in the sea and flying fish like flipping quarters in the air, falling heads or tails back into the water, and neither of us cares what the outcome is. The horizon is not a fixed point, and when I say I want to go there, it is as imaginary in real life as straight lines are hypothetical. We crossed the equator to tell ourselves we were worth it. Forever, like the horizon, a hypothetical mathematical point in the distance. The water was warm like a bath, and we floated. The return was proof enough that things are never fixed, but then again, forever as a hypothesis is the only way forever can exist. Just like how the existence of straight lines exists, even if they're hypothetical. The response to hypothesis is the proof of living, even as the ground keeps shifting and the earth is still here.
Thank you, Jenny. The earth is still here, indeed. So before we go to our next reader, I want to take a quick temperature. Do we want to take a 5-minute break and get snacks or something, or should we push through with one more? Let's take a 5-minute break. And we'll come back. Okay, thanks. For the folks who came in late, there's snacks and lumpia and fruit and veggie platters in the back. If you want to have some, please dig in. Right. If everybody could take their places, seats again, please. I'm going to sort of extend the interlude and introduce my new co-host for hopefully some of the upcoming White Noise events while I'm in Hawaii. And they recently moved back to Oregon from Massachusetts after completing their MFA at UMass. So I'll introduce them, and Joe will bring them up on the stage or on the screen from afar using a magic of technology. Julene Unsun Johnson was born in Seoul, South Korea. She was adopted and taken to Valdez, Alaska. Johnson is a McDowell Quality Fellow and the recipient of the Isabella Gardner Fellowship. She earned an MFA in Visual Studies from PNCA, Pacific Northwest College of Art, and an MFA in Creative Writing for University of Massachusetts Amherst. She is the founder and editor of Trestle Ties, A Landscape of Emergence. Please welcome Julene.
Hi. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Jake. And I want to congratulate you for getting into an MFA program and moving forward in your writing. And I want to read one poem, cross between what happened and what did not. River, many times you hold me. Reflections delivered, Mom. Hold what happened at the gate of your holding. Phenomenology, windows, buck flies. This is not satire. Symmetry, half plant, half gutter. Space between borrow and abstraction, brown and cordial. Simulation, recognition. What is like? What is empty? Can you say full fog? Stretched out, seen as human, flesh, fleshed. Upon open, clearing of buttercups, whiteness, white them, bodies, yellow heads, dead roses, hurting but not heard. Harvest, be still. Thank you.
Hello? Okay. Thank you, Julene. That was amazing. We're excited for you to join the community and host some events coming up with us and see what we can build here. So I'm really excited. Next reader, who's also coming in remotely from the far horizon of Eugene, Oregon, Sam Roxas-Chua. Sam is the author of Saying Your Name 3 Times Underwater, echolalia in script, and fawn language. His poems and artwork have appeared in various journals, interviews, critiques, and reviews in Gulf Coast Magazine, Rhino Poetry, the Georgia Review, and the Bellingham Review. He lives in Eugene, Oregon. Please welcome Sam.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me okay. And first of all, I wanted to congratulate Julene for being the new host of Whitenoise, and you guys up in Portland are in good hands. So hello, my name is Sam Roxas-Chua, and I'm coming from you from the land of the Kalapuya here in Eugene. And there's really special to be invited to read for Whitenoise. I don't think I've read for Whitenoise before, but I know I've always wanted to. And Jake, thank you so much for inviting me to this one, your last hosting, but you're going to new lands, and I have a very special poem for you. Before I do that, I wanted to thank Joe for all the computer work and all the setting up and having Julian and I show up virtually. So thank you for that. And the Bayanihan restaurant to community center. Thanks for opening the space to us. Okay, the poems now. I want to dedicate this to Jake, especially, who's going to be moving to Hawaii to pursue his writing path. And I wrote this poem the first night of the writing program I was at. And I had this really strong feeling about meeting up with myself. After hearing all the craft talks and all the poetry and meeting all sorts of people from the program, I met up with a part of me that was already doing the work. So this is a poem in conversation, and this is for you, Jake, and also to Jen, who's going on a new path too in Colorado. Good luck to you. So here's to new paths. So tell me about the life you've had, the attic and the bee, the cellar, the radio in the woods tuned into you. So tell me about your arm and the many books you've carried home, the keys to your front door who know your middle name. So tell me about the compositions and the thoughts that linger in the kitchen. Tell me about the words that hang on your lower lip and the day you decided to swallow them. Tell me about the dragon and the fawn, the paraclete and the stone, or the scarf your father wore the day he didn't come home. Tell me about the apron your mother used to bury the orange bird that crazy winter hardening in the loam. Show me the bridge to your brother's house, that vellum cottage in the woods, and the fireplace you painted your face with. How you looked out the window and thought about the many secret names you wanted to carry on your chest. Names with tread, names that hang around in the garden, names written on leaves, names as exhales, names dipped in the chalice. They drip, these names who have forgotten the burn, the owl, the gallop, the going, the going, the going. It's so strange to have a reading and not see the audience, and I think that's one thing I miss very much with readings is, breathing the same air. We used to be able to breathe the same air, and I think that does something to readers and listeners as well. The next poem I'm going to read is, I'm going to dedicate this to my friend Steph. Steph, I miss you very much. And Steph invited me to read for write and read a poem for our friend Kazumi Hishiki, who died last year. And I want to dedicate this to Steph, and also to those people who are mourning death of others last year, or the year previous. This poem has an epigraph. It's by Kazumi Hishiki. Somewhere in the distance, a phone keeps ringing. Isn't that beautiful? The devotion to the first sip, which is the oval door singing in the back of the throat. In the middle of my tea, that one leaf, buoyant, a casket afloat in a warm pond of lilies. Slow, I inhale eddies of steam in the middle of my raku cup. I pull the white swirls that are the ribbons I once tied to my mother's hair in a dream where I saw her running in a gray dress with gray shoes. She was mumbling the way all dead people do in winter. I followed her. Namo Omitofo, I said. Namo Omitofo, I said. I said, Namo Omitofo. She stopped and took the back of my hands to her lips as she dissolves into tiny orbits of light. Those were the days of believing, a grounding of a boy like tree roots digging, not for a way out this time. This is a recent poem called Broth. And since I was sort of longingly looking at some people eating lumpias, I think this just fits right in. This poem just fits right in. Broth. My mother-in-law is resting from a fall, and I do what I just. I drop a slice of ginger and scallion into a ripple of hot sunflower oil and think of my mother and her journey from soil to sky to cloud to water. It's what I do best. I stand and wait for the slow boil of soy, plum, and broth. This is what I was taught when I can't be of any help to a body in respite. It's what I do best. I stand behind the curtain, open doors, and usher silence into soup. I can do this all day. I know my wooden ladles well. It was passed on by many hands that know the green ratio of cilantro to salt to sugar. Be buoyant like clouds under water is what my mother would say to me right now. Like the oar, the apron, the bowl, and the spoon? I asked. She would say, yes. She would say, yes, and yes, and yes. This is a longer poem. Also, these are all recent poems, by the way. I was going to say that I was going to read pandemic poems, but you know what? These are all pandemic poems. This one is called Notes About My Son Somewhere in the Galaxy of ABCs and Dits and Das. I'd like to believe that my body is a compass, and if my body is a compass, then my voice is a needle, and if my voice is a needle, then my tongue is a bed. If my tongue is a bed, don't let me sleep, because when I sleep, I dream of braiding rain, and when I braid rain, it means my throat is thirsty for Sunday, and Sundays used to be my true north. My true north is a bench looking out into the Pacific. The Pacific is my giant fish. My fish is my father. I'd like to believe my father is a star inside a fish, and if my father is a star, then my eyes are borrowed. If my eyes are borrowed, then my face is a bed, and if my tongue and face are beds, then I am made of sleep. When I sleep, I am a drawing on someone's wall. I am located. I am journaled in stone. When I am journaled in stone, I am a coastline, and my waves are sentences. If my waves are sentences, sit next to them, listen to them, and believe too that your body is a compass. And if you believe that your body too is a compass, come home with me. My home does not have a door. My home is made of wind. And I'd like to believe that wind is my sister. And if the wind is not my sister, sail me a boat of sisters. Make the boat be the shape of the galaxy. Because where I sit and look at galaxies, I am kind to my eyes. When I am kind to my eyes, I see the southern stars. And when I point south, I am pointing at a boy with no shoes. He's a boy that shows up in my dreams. In my dreams, he is sleeping on my chest. He is arm length and ear cusped on the roof of my east-born pulse. I hold on to the bottom of his feet so he doesn't fall out of love with me. I would be a good father. I would be his true north. He believes that the body is a compass, and I let him because he does not need to know what happened to my body and why he only comes to me in dreams. I do this through speaking to trees and dipping my finger to bodies of water, because when my finger is on the skin of water, I am a circle. I do these things for curves and circles, and my fingers arch over typewriters, and I write stories about lullabies sung underwater. I write about the fiction of midnight church bells, about the fiction of midnight church bells, about the fiction of midnight church bells, and religious hand clapping to ward off earthquakes. I write about the body. I write about the comedy of boys who become fathers, who don't know how to taste salt from their eyes. I will not tell my boy that I levitated inside my mother because she believed her fists were two stars that can summon a black hole. I have black eyes. I don't believe in shoes. Because when you are given shoes, what follows next is a name. And what follows a name is gravity. And what follows gravity is 6 feet deep of clay. So when our little pandemic hit, um, I wanted to write about it. Wanted to write like week by week of what was happening, and because I wanted to be creative. But that didn't last long because after the I think the 8th week, I just went. I don't know what's going to happen to this world, and I don't know what's going to happen to me and to those I love. So this is called this. These are real. These are pandemic poems now. What I would consider pandemic poems. 4 week COVID-19, Northwest, lowercase America. I've been looking at the moon since the quarantine 4 weeks ago. I don't say anything. I let it follow me like all the dogs I've lost. I drop breadcrumbs, tangerine rinds, peanut shells, all this to draw a trace back to my house in case my scent is different now. Less the morning coffee roast from the cafe that lingers on my sleeves. Less the scented oil left on a shoulder from an embrace. Less the taste of the sun on the back of my hand. My clothes smell like rattan and rubbing alcohol now. I've watched all the home movies I can and sleep with coats of aloe on my chest and lips. Moon, you one-eyed king, my cyclops. Let all lost things find their way home now. Let the cupboards be full of cans and this and that. May our skin taste like apples again as we kick God out the door and leave him in the rain for doing absolutely nothing. I had the opportunity to have my illustration is in my calligraphy be published in a wonderful magazine called Bellingham Review, who are very kind to poets who do visual art. So if you're a poet and you do visual art as well, I invite you to submit work to them. And because they only took artwork for this issue, they asked me to do an artist statement. And I don't really consider myself an artist, but I said, okay, here's my stab at an artist statement, and it was a poem. And luckily, they took it. And it has a epigraph by Li Po. It says, "We turn, pause, look back, and wave." This poem is called "Brushstrokes During a Pandemic: An Artist Statement." I was told I was born at sunset, half past the infusion hours of memory into turmeric. I was told I was born blue on the lips. My mother's milk was nowhere to be found. No trace of white rivers. No name to call when time arrests flesh. No equal. No documentation, pebble, fish, or guide. I was told I was born at sunset, between the theater of day turning into night, those vapored hours of the abalone, listening for the sun's last destruction. A boy made from bleed disappears at night. He dreams in filaments in search of light. I was told I was born at sunset. There were news reports of whales beached outside the hospital. Their mouths held slices of the sun in them. Their eyes of wet black pools blinking in February. And this is my last two poems. Again, thank you so much for inviting me to the Whitenoise reading series. I'm very, very happy. This poem is about my dog. His name is Rabbit. He's a Jack Russell Terrier, and he's 14 years old now. So this is my second to the last poem. My dog is thinking while drinking from his water bowl. And who thinks of that stuff but writers, right? So what my dog is thinking while drinking from water bowl. Later, there will be jumping on the bed. After the slice of tomato drops, there's 100% chance of kissing. Lips. I like lips. It just might rain tomorrow. It will rain tomatoes all day. My belly will be full and the bed will be warm. My belly is full of tomatoes, peanut sauce, and plum. My nose is a date and the sky is gray. We're staying home because wet fur means off the couch, means no lips on my belly, no tomatoes. At 4 p.m., the house will smell like mail, and a postcard of someone else's dog on the cover will look at me from the refrigerator. It has my mother's face on it. I believe my mother's name is Checkup Time. I don't remember her much. I remember my father. His name is Dodger. He didn't lick me away. Tess did. Tess, that's my mother's name. Tess means short-term memory in dog. Tess licked me away. Her lips are not like tomatoes. Her milk is cold. My name is Rabbit. I had 2 brothers. I see them in this water bowl. We drink together. They taste like tomatoes. And this will be my last poem. Thank you for having me. And I always read this poem because it's for my mother, my adopted mother, Betty. Of blood and stem. If I had known, I would have saved the abacus from the fire. I would have hidden in swanery until morning. If I had known there was a zealot carving his name into your blood clot, I would have stayed on the phone much longer. I would have listened to you sing the Mei Hua song. I would have turned the lights off and straightened my back against the wall, coiled the phone cord around my finger, and remembered summers under the mango tree, summers when you taught me to peel a fruit with my tongue. If I had known the sky would inhale you out of me so quickly, I would have been a better boy. I would have been a bird. Thank you so much.
Hi. The next Whitenoise reader is Consuelo Wise. Consuelo Wise is a Guatemalan American poet and writer that grew up in Northern California on the Lost Coast. Please welcome her.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name's Consuelo. This is beautiful to look out on. That was incredible. I can't even believe that reading we just heard, and just all of the readings together. I feel very honored to be part of this series. Thank you, Jake. This is the third time I've read with Whitenoise, and feels special to be back with you, so thank you all. I've been working on an extended elegy project for about 5 years. I have one manuscript that is sort of finished, and I have like a series of pieces that are part of a second one. And I'm not sure if I will make them into one long poem or if they'll remain sections and pieces and fragments. So this is a new piece that I'm working on that, yeah, we'll see. This is called Skyboy. When Skyboy calls, I sometimes don't know if it's him. The hawk doesn't turn his head away, but stares, unblinking, down from the tree, night ready. He faces me. I'm unsure of whether to call him Skyboy, in case he is someone else or goes by a new name. I don't want to trap him, but even my want seems unfair, as if I should want anything from him. When my brother was 15, he went through a phase of wearing overalls. One buckled down, big shirt, long hair in his eyes. He was always working on something, carving, planting, bundling. Camaro, garden, river jade. Boys adorn themselves too. His brown and red and white tail feathers, smooth cheeks, muscles and shoulders widening. He pierced his ears with a potato and a needle. He said he'd do mine, but I was too scared. His ears were small like the Kumamoto oyster, flickering, purple, silvered, ocean dark. I remember them distinctly as I remember the color they were on the shiny metal hospital table. Blooms escaping and pressed. How something looks that's been run over. I didn't always think of the color as a flower, as I sometimes call him Jacaranda boy. That's something I've done over time to soothe myself when I think of how bruised he was. What the machine did to his body, how he fell, what breaking your neck looks like. I'm attracted to trees that blossom. I love to see when the petals are on the ground beneath the tree, dried and free to the wind or the dampness of the mound. In the car in Oakland, passing a woman in a purple sari sweeping blossoms from her sidewalk, the blossoms purple too. She turns to me like the hawk as if saying, "Oh, how we become." Falling, repeating, landing. On our way to the hospital on the bluffs, I remember looking out the window. We were going to pick you up, I thought. It was dark, early morning. You could smell the river below. I didn't know we were going to say, "Skyboy, is that you?" To identify a body, I walk outside myself. I walk outside my own, circle the room, then suddenly am standing back at the table or am beside the curve or the smooth, rounded edge of a cheek or your hair, dusty and dry, or stars that came down and landed on his cheeks, hands, arms I knew. Limbs, woods, river boy, side of the highway boy, or the road looking towards the mountain range where you were born, or our mother, young and just a girl, my age, the age I am now. To identify a body, one must acknowledge the night aromas of a night blooming out of its shell. Boys, brothers, slipping, dry grass, summer, fires, gasoline, warm winds and hair blowing, and nights we go to the river to swim. To identify or to name or to call you, sky or jacaranda, I am also falling and adoring you. When I see you on the table, I see the blossoms coming from your ear, across your cheeks. I cannot believe this means you'll soon vanish. And I see you lift from the tree, wings advancing out. Skyboy in overalls, radiant plumes, jade tumbling around your neck, shells in your ears, Skyboy in full night bloom. Thank you.
Wow, that was so good, everybody. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Consuelo, Steph, Jenny, Sam, and Julene. Before we close, I was just going to share a couple poems, if that's okay. New stuff, actually. I haven't written much during the pandemic. It's been kind of tough to read, tough to live, I think, for all of us. But I started a workshop series last year called On Becoming, and on the second one, my good friend Neil Aiken facilitated, and we had a few folks. Jenny was at one of them. Consuelo was there writing with us at one of them, and I think kind of being in that space with those folks really, made me feel supported and helped me get to a place, that I could share this. So this first poem is called On Becoming Earth, or if you're feeling underwater because it's 2020 and there are feds and literal Nazis invading your city, that's okay too. After Susan B. Kimpo and after George W. Aguilar Sr. I was a blue continent transplanted to a river beneath a river of birds, following magnetic canals only they can see. I'm an archipelago, a scatter of fallen mountain fragments whose exiles lived in traces of Las Islas Pintados beneath skin. I'm a continent of weavers and travelers who tracked out the mud of home to the storm when they left, propelled between leaky floorboards, between boats, away to somewhere else after yet somewhere else. I'm a continent like the edge of a cracked mandala held up in 5 directions, water spilling into a desert on the way to 10 cities, a borderland far from the first river you fell into and got saved. My river is a blue continent and bird highway matched by the canals and underground lakes on Mars, where life might be. Something you can hold, interlude. In my dreams, the land recedes to the size of bumps on the skin of an orange, but smaller, and not that Valencia, but the real shit. Ridges connected to long gone stems that bent and broke off a tree. Unseen forests of hairs rise up from the bumps on the skin of my arm in groves larger than oranges when you hold your hand or voice above it, and the you could be anyone, almost touching, but not quite. Asymptotes are real if we agree they are, and I don't exactly need proof, but why not for no reason other than the fact you and I are talking about dreams here in the new Decapolis, the new dystopian normal. At night, sometimes I dig with my pen resting squat between fingers and thumb, looser than you might like ideologically. I mean, I'm not exactly a comrade or Kasama doing revolutionary street theater in the Diliman commune, but I get by. Other times, snug like a cop's gun at my back, making me walk into a grave I've not gone out of my way to dig without a word of thanks except goodbye. Goodbye again in case I forget to tell you, since their guns made more of you. Uncle, I'm glad at least you're not alone, but fuck them for not getting the joke. See how I turned aside the sad poem to humor, a pivot. I think it might be the most Pinoy thing about me. I did not know the contents of the small container or missive you whispered that thing into from your underground safe house, wherever it was, in Samar or elsewhere. I wasn't born yet when the sphere slammed shut, spun around your head, then body, before giving up the ghost, swimming outward in concentric circles or gyres, how nobody says it anymore except laud Irish sages predicting war. Call me crazy, but given the option, the centuries of waiting to give a bad rap to underutilized vomitoriums everywhere, belatedly disgorging their contents, and finally escaping, blinking to find you'd only wasted your time in the last sprung bunker of a deserted cul-de-sac, detached arm of Lady Liberty and beach optional. You'd take it in a minute after forever of looking up above, searching for that one thing like a snow globe over a peninsula post-mission, when there are no white Christmases in the tropics except in malls. It flutters down to reveal itself to some confused Ohlone hunters unstuck in time who found me wandering there as a boy. It opens finally, and I hear you say that thing I'd forgotten or missed hearing firsthand, a gift, like a name or a curse. I've traveled a long time because the King's Road on the coast was lost. I found my way in the dark along cliff edges from below at low tide, away from the prying eyes and riders in white hats or shaved heads with whips. I made my way askance at the piercing reach of lighthouses' beams to a long stretch of beach, only broken by a few promontories where you can see the whales migrate and waves crash down on a narrow ledge in a cave we once perched on for 10 hours straight, tripping balls on mushrooms till the sun rose. My friends, the papers we didn't read that day, shout out to crew, said it would be the biggest storm in a century, or at least few decades. After not dying under a full moon, I continued north to the mouth of a great river. In this valley, we are all living among ruins of an ancient lake that the locals did not call Allison. The city has stumps but no hills. All hills are islands if they are anything, water or no. It's okay if I do one more? Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I've taken up some weird hobbies during the pandemic. My friend Neil got me into playing Dungeons and Dragons online over Zoom. It's super nerdy, but I don't mind outing myself to the 4 people on the stream and you guys in here. So I wrote a D&D poem, and it's called Five Room Dungeon. So after the one about, about my uncle, I figure lighten up a little bit. So, and anyways, for those who don't know, 5 Room Dungeon is sort of like a template of like kind of encounters to lead you to like the final thing or whatever the storyline is. So I took the treasure room. So 5 Room Dungeon. After the end is not always the beginning, descending down to loot these tombs like any good settler. You become the exhibit, returning to yourself sprawled and groggy, hanging in a cage with gold bars, a suspended sentence in a treasure room. From the archive, you remember mention the skeleton of a key, can even see its slim contours matching the padlock that bars your escape. They assume you could stay in an eternity of 401k, wine clubs, timeshare, all that rot, but you found a thought past the tumblers and gears, arbitrary rules of whiteness, refusal. Click and it pops open. You bound down like Chow Yun Fat jumping out of a wheelchair in Once a Thief, but unlike him, you don't stick the landing or anything close to it remotely. Since the atrophy set in, your leg buckles and you roll like you meant to do that shit to begin with. All that lingering imposter stuff, shake the dust. Look at the table as if a disembodied voice is saying, it's dangerous to go out alone. Take only one of a sword / book / guitar, not left-handed, sadly, and hammer. You have no idea what you're doing, so you take them all. I mean, when your Lolo Kiel died, they found salt packets in his coats for years. And if he left men or treasure behind in the jungle back then, he protested to the absent, it wasn't intentional. After the initial rush of freedom, the karaoke nights, Premier League day drinks start to blur together in a mess. You almost forget what you're here for, almost say, screw it, climb back into that cage when the door opens. You immediately think of the face of the final boss, the jailer, the one who holds all your debts. But it's just a guard or lackey that gets angry at your lack of enthusiasm, demands a taste of trauma porn for empathy's sake, said, you're so brave after you read at the Schnitzer that time, or was it Namaste? I forget. But either way, you cast cutting words to trip him, square up with your erstwhile hammer, roll a 1 to fumble, then run limp past him, slamming the door behind you and out the hallway. Thanks, everyone. Oh, yeah, please, help us finish the lumpia, say hi to everyone, get your hugs in. And if the folks that read, if we could get a picture real quick before everybody goes, that'd be great. Thanks.